What's up, guys? I go by the name of King Anan, and I'm originally from Ghana. So this is gonna be my first of many YouTube videos. So welcome to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you for checking out this video. I'd like to encourage you to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Please subscribe to this channel for me so I can keep creating more videos of value of my experience growing up in America as a child of Ghana. I've been in America for 30 years now. Long time, right? And I originally came to the United States when I was 12. When I was 12 years old, I was just about to turn 13. Reason why I moved here to the United States because my father has been living in the United States a really, really long time. Probably close to 50 something years now, probably even longer. And he was married to, or is still married to an African-American woman. So when I moved here, they lived in Massachusetts, right outside Boston. So it was a huge culture shock. I moved here and, Ghana, where I lived in Accra, I lived with my aunt because my mother lived in Nigeria at the time. So I lived with my aunt, her brothers and sisters. We all lived in a, pretty decent sized house. It was kind of actually a big house. We were, I don't want to say, middle class, but the area that we lived in Accra, if you're watching this, you've been to Ghana or you've been to Accra, the North Laboni area. Right now, the North Laboni area, which is kind of near Osu, is a really expensive area of Accra to live in. And at that time, in the 80s, was a pretty decent area to live in. When I actually moved here to the United States and I told some Ghanaians who lived here that I lived in North Laboni, they thought I was rich. But at the time, when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I didn't know how well we were living at the time because I was a kid and I just didn't know. As a kid, you don't know those type of conditions. So we lived in a pretty decent area of Accra. I went to some pretty good schools. My aunt and my mother made sure that I always was going to really good schools. So we're doing okay. Even though Ghana was really hard at the time, that's one of the reasons why my mother lived in Nigeria. She was a nurse, and she couldn't really find any good jobs at the time. I guess I'm not really sure what was going on at the time because I was so young, but she went to Nigeria to live there. And I'm going to talk about, my history, everything that I experienced growing up in another video. But to cut a long story short, she lived in Nigeria for many years. I actually went to live with her for about a year when I was about 7 to about 8, and then I moved back to Ghana. So at the age of 12, I moved here to the States to live with my father, my stepmother, and they lived outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And if anybody knows anything about Boston or Massachusetts, the northeastern part of the United States, it's really cold. And as a child, moving from Ghana, where it's really warm, you're around your family all the time. You wake up in the morning, you go to school, you come back home. You got people there at home. My aunt was a seamstress at the time, so she sewed clothes. She was always home. We always had, somebody. It was at least 2 or 3 people always home at the time, at the house. So it was a huge culture shock coming here to America, and it is really different because I like the lifestyle here was really different. Everybody's really hustling, just going to work. Both my mother and father had jobs. My stepmom, I call her my mother because she's my mother. But yeah, my stepmother, she worked at the probate court in Boston, Massachusetts. My father was a software engineer, so they both woke up really early in the morning, took the train to work or drove to work, and we took the bus to school. So by the time we came home, we came home, there was nobody at home. I came home. One of my cousins was actually living with us at the time, so that's why I say we. But we came home, there was nobody, it was just us. And at the age of 12 or 13, it was a huge culture shock. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of my history. But the main reason I'm making this video is because growing up in Ghana, the education system doesn't teach you about American history. We're educated by the colonial educated system, which obviously Ghana was a colony of England. So we learn everything based on their system, the system that has been created from the time that Ghana was a colony of England. So I didn't know anything about slavery until I moved here to the United States. I started going to school, and one day in my social studies class, I found out how Americans or Black Americans were actually here in the United States, because I had no clue. None at all. I had no clue. So yeah, I was looking through a book, one of our social studies textbooks, and we were learning about slavery, those times in the United States. And that's how I found out how Black people had arrived here, because when I was in Ghana, we used to watch movies like, Beverly Hills Cop, all kind of movies, Terminator, any movies that there might have been Black actors in it. And I just never thought of the lineage. I just never thought about how Black people came to be in this country. I might have thought in my young mind at the time, in my 6, 7, 8-year-old mind, when I was watching movies, I might have thought that they were just always here. Black people were always here in America, because I didn't know that much about America, and most people in Ghana don't know the history because they were never educated on it. And as a matter of fact, those I call them dungeons. I don't call them castles, because they're not castles to me. I call them dungeons. Those slave dungeons where our ancestors were imprisoned there before they were actually they were taken to different parts of the world. I used to see those dungeons, okay? As a matter of fact, the place that I was actually born, which is in the western region of Ghana, which is called Second D, we used to travel from there. Sometimes, my aunt would drive us back to see our family. When I lived in Accra, we would just travel back and forth. And that road actually passes in front of, I believe it was Elmina Castle. And I remember as a child sitting in the car looking at those dungeons, those buildings. And it never actually crossed my mind to ask what were those places, because I would ask, and they would just tell me, that's Elmina Castle, right? That's what everybody in Ghana calls it, Elmina Castle, or what have you. These are just buildings that are there, right? So I never thought anything about it. But when I came to the United States and I started asking and I started learning, and my father and my stepmom, they had to educate me like, yes, this is where our ancestors were captured and put before they were actually brought over to the United States. And as a matter of fact, the day that I found out in class, I was going through the textbook and I started seeing these dehumanizing pictures of our ancestors, comparing them to animals. And sometimes I used to see their skeletons of some of the slaves, the enslaved, right? And some of the lynching pictures, and I would just go home and cry, because as a 12-year-old at the time, I just didn't understand how a human being could actually treat another human being like that, right? I would actually, I went home and cried that day because it was just shocking to me. That was a time that completely changed my young, naive mind. I cried that day out. It was just sad to me that something like that had happened to my people, and that maybe I didn't know about it, right? But it made a huge impression on me. Okay. So that's how I found out about slavery. And most people in Ghana, even to this day, do not know that slavery happened in America, because we're not educated on it in Ghana. Students are not educated on it. For me, I think the Ghanaian and African education system needs to be completely overhauled, because we don't know our history. We don't know how much value, or how many contributions we made to this world. We just don't know. That's a whole nother topic that maybe I can get into in another video. But I just wanted to shoot this video to talk about how I found out about the history of African Americans in this country, and how I grew up this country being educated on African Americans, and how people in Ghana are just not educated, or just don't know the struggles that African Americans have gone through in this country. All right. So guys, again, this is my first video. I wanted to shoot this, but I am going to be making more videos. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you have any questions about me, please comment below, and I'll be more than happy to answer for you. Okay. But this is King Anan, and thank you for watching this video, but I'll catch you in the next one.